Hey guys, I can't help myself. I'm supposed to send this back to its owner, and I just can't help myself. I've got the Daystate Airwolf MCT, and I've got the FX Crown, both in .25 caliber. I want to find out which one is more accurate. This is by no means a definitive answer to that question, but I've seen very similar results coming out of the both of them. I've got a pretty calm day outside. It's cold, but I'm going to give it a shot. And so that everything's fair, let me set the stage. The Airwolf MCT is not mine. It doesn't have a bipod on it, so I will be shooting off the sandbag setup out to 50 and 100 yards. I want to do both. I'm really excited about 100 yards though. The Crown has bipod on it, so I'll be taking that off. That way we're shooting on equal ground. The air bottles are different. This is the carbon fiber, this is the aluminum. So I don't like filling the aluminum to 250. I don't believe it's recommended. So I filled the aluminum bottle to 200 bar. I also don't fill my carbon fibers all the way to 250, but I generally fill them to 220. So that should be pretty level ground right there. Scopes. I've got the Hawk Frontier TMX reticle. That's what does this go up to? I think 30 or something. Yeah, it goes up to 30, but I'm going to put it at 15 times zoom. Hawk Sidewinder, I'm going to put that 15 zoom. So everything is pretty much equal. I'll extend the shroud on this because I just like shooting it a little bit quieter. Oh, magazines. I don't have the single shot tray for the Daystate, so I will be shooting out of magazine. 10-shot mag. And the Crown, this is actually a Crown magazine I've never used before, so it's brand new. I'm only going to load up 10 shots in it, so we're on equal ground. Pellets will be coming out of this tin, which I have labeled carefully selected. That was a little jab to JSB, but these are pellets that I used at Extreme Bench Rest, and they're just kind of leftovers floating around. So I know what's in here is very consistent. I don't quite remember what's in here. In fact, are these heavies? Open. Nope, they're lights. So they're 25.4 grains. I haven't cronied, well, I cronied the Crown, but I forget what it's shooting at. And I think I cronied the Airwolf, but again, I don't remember what it's shooting at. So that's kind of the only advantage that I see here is I'm not tuning the Daystate, I'm not fiddling with any of the settings. So it's shooting at whatever it's shooting at. Whereas the Crown, I've done a little bit of work towards tuning it and getting it shooting really well. Now, the flip side to that is Extreme Bench Rest was, what, over 2 months ago? And I haven't shot the Crown since. So, I'm a little rusty with the Crown. On the Daystate, however, I've been shooting it on and off the past couple weeks. I've had some rounds going down range, so I'm a little more practiced with Daystate. So, does that level out? You guys can decide. I don't know. I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to get to shooting. Let me see. I'm not going to put a camera down range. I'm just going to shoot, and I'll take a picture afterwards. Alright, I'm just about set up to shoot, and one other thing I noticed that Advantage Crown was scope level. Crown's got a scope level on it, the Daystate did not, so I just added one of these little rail scopes, and that's going to keep me at least consistent. It may not be perfectly straight up and down, I'm okay with that. As long as I'm shooting consistent, it should give me a consistent result. So, I have tried my best to take out any advantage from either gun. Here we are at 50 yards. Got my target set up. Now, this was my practice shots. I gave myself 10 rounds to shoot and sight in, make sure everything was all cool, working fine, get a feel for the gun again. So that's what this kind of mess is. But then I moved down here, and this was a one-shot deal, guys. It was, you're gonna make it, or it is what it is. So I think one of these shots was either me pulling or the wind. I had a little wind gust come out, so I broke out my wind flag so I could still keep things as fair as possible. But let's see what we've got.
Center. Actually, that's the center there. That edge shot. Wow, is that itch? Yeah.
A 1-inch group. And here,
It's a nice looking group. It's hard to really even find the centers. Close, guys.
there is, what is that anyway? 7.5 inch. Yeah, 7.5 inch. That is pretty close. Now, since I've had Daystate, I really feel like it's been asking me for something. I don't know if that's lubed pellets or sized differently pellets, but I have a feeling it's asking me for lightly lubed pellets, but I'm not positive on that. And I haven't played that game yet with it, and I probably won't get a chance to. But, and I realize now that I said 7.5 inch, obviously I meant 0.75 inch. So which one's which? You're dying to know. This is the Daystate, this is the Crown. Let's move out to 100 yards. Welcome to 100 yards. So this same thing, I shot up here, sighting in the scope and dialing in where I want it to be, and I noticed the significant difference in the speed by looking through the scope. One rifle was hitting about, I think just over 3 mils down, and the other one was hitting at about 2.5. So I adjusted them both to hit, 1.5 mils down, and use the 1.5 reticle as my 0, and this was the result. Oh, this group here had a little more wind, and whereas the wind flatlined when I shot this group. This was a little more wind, and this was me, I pulled it, that was my fault. So I'm not going to count that one. There you go, 2 and 6.3. What do we got here? 2 and 5.6. Pretty darn close for these two rifles. That is very close. Like I say, eliminate this guy and you've got these groups. Now this is interesting too. This one kind of wandered around a little bit. This one was punching over here, and then it was punching over here. And then, you know, you had a couple strays, but it was really like hitting the same spot over and over again. This one, you can see a group here, a little small group here, and it was kind of like wandering around that little circle there. So again, you guys are dying to know which one's which. Daystate, FX Crown. They are very close. And I maintain again, I think that Daystate is asking me for lubed pellets, but I can't be sure just yet. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for joining me. And as always, happy shooting. This is what I gotta deal with. I'm trying to make you guys a video. One there, and what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the background. Crashing my range. Get out of here. So yeah, I can't help myself. I'm really curious if lube pellets would make any difference with this rifle. So I was almost out of those carefully selected 25 cals and decided, why not? Throw them in a lubing tin and send them downrange. Let's see what happens. So, interesting results. This is the group I just shot with those lubed pellets, and I had 13 pellets left, so I only had 3 that I could use to lube in, kind of like letting in. I'm lubing in the barrel, getting that lube into all the little imperfections. And I would have liked to have more. I would have rather shot, like, say, I don't know, between 10 and 20 lubed pellets through there to get that barrel seasoned in a way. So a couple of shots, I forget where they were. I think they were either down here or up there, but my first 3 shots were, my first 2 shots were very high. They were at like the mil dot. I was shooting at, I think, 2.5, and they were at 2 on the mil. And then the third one, oh, there's a hawk. Big old guy too. The third one hit back at 2.5 mils. And by that point I was out and I had moved down here for my 10-shot round. So this was my first shot. And then it was like number 2 and 3 or something like that, and then 4. And then all of a sudden they just started doing this. And they, you know, they kind of corkscrewed around counterclockwise. So this group, while it's about the same size, I think it's, let's see here, I think it's from there to there, that's 2.35. But if you consider that the barrel was seasoning in, I'd like to erase these first 4 shots, which leaves just this little splatter mark, which is point of impact, 1.86. So that's pretty impressive, and I think if I had more of the same pellets, those, whatever they were, sorted somehow, pellets, they were probably, let's see, inspected, weighed, and sized, I'm guessing, and then lubed, I think the Daystate would continue to do this type of pattern. It's going to be really hard for me to put that in the mail and send it back to its owner. I may send him a check instead. But I don't know. If it was my gun, I would tune the trigger out a little bit, and I would tune the speed of that rifle, and I wouldn't use a magazine. But this is a pretty interesting result.